Question from the Modern Divorce Support Group. Parent who lives states away from child. I need advice. What does your long distance parenting plan look like? How many times a year do you see the child? Do you visit them in their home state or do they come to you? What holiday school breaks do you get and how do you split it? Do you share time and travel expenses or are you always paying for all of the travel? Thank you in advance. The background here is that I moved out of state from my son for work, and I've always paid and done all the traveling since I was the one who moved. But now I can't afford the back and forth traveling plus the child support more than 3 times a year. Hi, I'm Billy Tarasio, Arizona family law attorney, and this question is really looking for ideas. What has worked for all of you in the past, and how do you manage both the practical nature of traveling for parenting time and the expense associated with traveling for parenting time? So no two plans are usually exact. So I've got a client who lives in Utah. Mom is in Utah, dad is in Arizona, and the parenting plan allows for parenting time up to every single weekend. That parent makes a lot of money, and the travel is so close, it's only an hour flight, that they can see one another very frequently. But what we're looking at is how convenient is it to get from one state to the other state. And so some of the factors there are, how close do both people live to airports? The farther away you are from airports, the harder it is to do those kind of long weekend visits. And then in terms of child support, the Arizona Child Support Guidelines allows the court to allocate travel expenses whenever travel is more than 100 miles one way. And it says in the guidelines that it's going to consider the means of both parents, and the court may consider how their conduct, such as their change of residence, has affected the cost of parenting time. So there is nothing that says automatically the parent who moves incurs all the costs of travel. And I would say that's actually not usually the case. Usually both parents share the costs of travel. They might share them in proportion to income, or how I usually suggest people do it is splitting each flight can be a real problem for parents because somebody might choose much more expensive flights than somebody else. So if there are 4 flights a year and one parent makes 25% of the income and one parent makes 75% of the income, I usually suggest that one of those flights per year be covered by the parent that makes 25% and the other parent does the other 3 flights a year. So that's how I personally like to do it, because I've found that it allows for autonomy and it cuts down on the need to communicate. You put your parameters in the parenting plan for how late kids can travel, when they can be unaccompanied, when they can fly by themselves. You put all of that in there, and then it's on you to make those decisions, because any of us know who have booked flights. When you're booking flights, you look at the price, you find something that works. You really need to hit purchase at that moment, and you don't really have time to send it to the other parent, wait until they have time to look at it. By the time you go look at that, your price has changed. And so that is one of the things that I highly suggest. My goal is for each parent to be able to spend as much time with the children as possible. And I think that some sort of a combination between time in the child state and time in the parent state makes sense. There should be, in my opinion, specific times that take place in the out-of-state parent's jurisdiction, and then there should be 2 or 3 other times throughout the year, if it's at all possible, that the parent goes and spends time with the child in the child's home state. I understand this is a huge sacrifice and can be very difficult, especially if you have another family with other children in the parent has that in their state. So it can be very challenging, but that is usually what I see as the most successful long distance relationship. But I want you all to chime in and tell me what has worked for your long distance plan. What have you liked? What have you not liked? Who pays for transportation? Do you allow flights? At what age? Talk to me about what works, and I'll report on those poll results.